Welcome everyone, my name is Brandon and I'm joined by Chris and Zoe who are going to help answer your questions at the end of our presentation. Now some of you may have had the opportunity to sit on one of our demos where we skim the surface of what Kurent can do to help you bill your time and get invoices out to your customers, or you may have worked one-on-one with a customer experience specialist for a personalized walkthrough of the software. Either way, we're glad that you're here. We want to thank you for taking the time to join us for our new Webinar Wednesday series where we'll give you an in-depth look at some of our favorite features of Kurent. So whether you've been using Kurent for a week, a year, or anywhere in between, these webinars are for you. Today we'll be highlighting some of what some of our users are doing to optimize their billing process to get the most out of Kurent. You might call them shortcuts or life hacks, but we'll call them simply practical pointers. First, we'll dig into the notepad on the user dashboard, where I'll show you how to maximize its usage, giving it an easy-to-use tool that will help you keep organized and on task. We'll also explore some of the extended capabilities of the quick launch buttons. Now these buttons, in addition to adding fees and costs, give you the ability to create matters and invoices for new and existing clients from nearly anywhere in the software. Next, we'll take a look at some of the options that you can use to make each of the lists an effective tool for keeping track of information and navigating through useful filters to streamline your billing processes. To finish out our presentation, we'll go over setting up text shortcuts that your firm can use to input information that you frequently type, saving you valuable time in your already busy day. Now, after our demonstration, we'll actually have a live Q&A session, giving you a chance to ask questions about any of the features that we covered in today's webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, the My Notepad is a tool that's on the user dashboard. You'll see it right here. This is actually one of our most useful tools that we offer to help you stay on top of your meetings, events, and reminders. So today we'll show you how to customize your notes to provide an at-a-glance view of what your day may be shaping up to be. Now the first thing that you'll notice when you open a note or add a note is that there are some basic text options like bold, italics, and underline. You'll see those down here at the bottom. You can also select a different text color or even highlight. Now you can actually even use these options to create a bulleted list like you see here. Now the options that I use most frequently are going to be the highlight and the text colors. What that'll do is it'll actually give me the ability to assign a specific color to specific actions. For instance, I use the purple to tell me when I have a meeting, so I can quickly see if there is a meeting scheduled through my notepad. If I decide that I'd like to take the case after that meeting, I can actually use that note to create a fee. So all I have to do is click on the note, and then I'll select Create Fee, where I'll input the required information in the fee entry field. And it'll automatically fill in the memo with the auto-populated note that we had there. Once we save and close, and attach a matter to it, then you'll see that when we have that note open, it'll actually show the fee information on the note there as well. So you'll see that information down here at the bottom. Now, if I no longer wish to see that note, I can actually check the hidden box up here at the top to remove it from my list. So once I save and close, you'll notice that that now no longer shows up on my list. Now, if I do want to see that, all I have to do is click on See All Notes, and using the filter button right here, put a check in Include Hidden, and then I can see those notes again. Now, as you can see, these options can provide an easy reference for you to keep on top of your day and your tasks. Now, our next feature is actually 4 features in one. So across the top of your screen, you're going to see what we call the quick launch buttons. We've got fee, cost, matter, and invoice. Now, if you've joined us for one of our demos, you'll know that these can be very powerful. But today we're going to focus on some of the more subtle features that these little buttons offer. So the quick launch buttons are designed to appear nearly everywhere in Kurent, and using them will allow you to quickly post a fee or a cost, or to create a new matter or invoice for a new or existing contact. Each of these buttons will let you add a contact and matter in the background while you're inputting the information. Now, if you've attended one of our demos, you will know that this is perhaps most notable in the fee and cost buttons. For a more subtle use of the fee and cost buttons, you'll see that when we click on one of these buttons up here, there's an option at the bottom to show fewer fields. So if we click on that, this will remove the rate, the amount, and the options to save the fee using a flat amount. So this provides you with a streamlined process to input your time and costs more quickly. Now what's nice is once you've done this and you save it, the next time that you come in, it'll actually default to that as well. So I'll show you that here. And if we open up the fee entry screen, you'll see that it does show with those fewer fields as well. Now, if you do want to maybe post a fee that uses a flat amount, all you have to do is simply click the button that says show more fields, and it'll re-expand for you. Now, one of the other options that we have is to use the save and new or the save and copy function. So you'll see that down here in the bottom right hand side where it says save and close. If you click that down arrow, we have the option to save new or save and copy. If you do the save new, what it'll do is it'll save the fee entry and then it'll open up a new fee entry screen. Or if you need to post the same fee to multiple matters, you can use the save and copy and it'll save, and then it'll actually open up the same fee that you were using previously, and you can reassign to a different matter for that. Now, if we move over to the matter quick launch button, we'll see another prompt. So on this one, we're going to see at the bottom where it says save and view advanced options. So once we input information here and a description, then we can click the Save and View Advanced Options, and this will allow us to complete the advanced setup required for individual matters at the time of creation without navigating to the matter dashboard and manually selecting the Edit Matter button. Now this comes in really handy when I know that the matter will be getting charged at either a different rate than my standard rate, or if the matter will be a flat fee client. Now let's assume that this will be a flat fee client. So if I go to the billing method tab, which opens up automatically, then I can change the billing method by clicking the down arrow and selecting flat fee. And this then opens up a couple of options. I want to do the first option because what I'd like to do is input my fees normal with hours and rates, and then when I run the invoice for this client, it will create an adjustment to that invoice that'll change the rate to this rate here. It'll actually put the adjustment on there for us. Now from there, I can save and close, and then I can just continue billing this client normally. So the fourth and final quick launch button is probably my favorite. This is actually the invoice quick launch button. So when you click the invoice quick launch button, you'll notice that it brings you to the invoice entry screen. Now what I think makes this button so powerful is that it has the ability to handle the task of the other three buttons in addition to creating a new invoice. You can either input an existing matter or use the quick add function to have the system add a new contact and matter for you in the background. So we'll actually do that option now. And you'll notice that we can do the quick add by hitting tab, and then Kurent will actually add that in the background. Now, once you have a matter selected, you'll see any unbilled fees and costs that occurred before the transaction cutoff date. Or in this case, which is my favorite part, you can actually add fees and costs to this invoice to be invoiced immediately. Now, where this comes in handy is if you have a client that you need to quickly get an invoice to, but you haven't had a chance to put the time in the software yet. So you can actually use the add fee or the add cost option to add it here before running the invoice for the client. So when you click those, it just opens up the fee entry. Now you'll actually notice that when I did that, it pulled up using the fewer fields. That's because when we opened it up to show more fields, we didn't save from that. So if we were to open that up and save, then it would show all the fields when we came back into that. Now, once you save and close on this, you'll actually be taken to the invoice preview where you can proceed billing as you normally would in your invoicing process. So you'll see that invoice here. And this will be a fairly boring invoice because we don't have anything on it. So we'll go ahead and close out of that. Now, as you use Kurent, you'll actually see that at the top of each of our lists, we have what we call quick views. Now, these quick views allow you to quickly use one of our preloaded filters in any list to show specific information. For example, on the invoice list here, we have quick views in place to display draft, unsent, unpaid, or overdue invoices. Now, this is so that you can efficiently perform batch actions, such as approving or sending invoices that already exist, or to easily see invoices for clients that still need to be collected on. Now, off to the right of the overdue quick view, you'll see that we actually have a green custom quick view. Each user has the ability to create one custom quick view per list within Kurent that shows the user a specific set of information that they may need to view on a regular basis. Now, this can be extremely helpful for situations where you need to quickly drill down to specific records. So like with this custom quick view, I have it set up to only show invoices marked as sent, but have not yet been paid. Now, once I select this option, you'll see that the list will filter to show me the information that I need. Now, a custom quick view is easy to make and can be changed to best fit your needs. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to head over to the matter list, and I'll show you how to create a custom quick view. Now, I want to create a custom quick view to show matters that have an unbilled amount aged over 60 days. So when I go to the filter button and add that criteria to the filter, you'll actually see that the information in the list will automatically begin filtering to fit my needs. Now, if I want to use this as a one-time search, all I need to do is click out of the filter section to review the list. Now, however, since this filter criteria is something that I'll need to check every month before billing, I do want to have the option to save this. So at the bottom of this, you'll see that if I give that a name, I can then save the filter. So once we name the filter, and click Save, then you'll see that the quick view now shows at the top. Now, one other thing to note on these is that you can actually see that on each of the quick views that they include a count of how many records fit the specified criteria, which allows you to see at a glance if any of the matters need to be addressed. Now, the criteria for a quick view can be altered by reopening the filter tab. So that's clicking on the filter button over here, changing any of the information, and then again selecting Save Filter at the bottom of the filter tab. Now, if you no longer wish to have that quick view for the list, you also have the option to delete the quick view by clicking on the delete button right next to your save option. So when we click on that, you'll notice that your quick view will actually go away. Your filter will remain as if it was a one-time filter. So if we click out, and then we can clear the filter. Now, while we're here on the matter list, we can actually move on to our next pointer, which will actually help you maximize the use of lists. In the same way that all lists include quick views, all lists also include an action column, the last column on the right side. Now, the action column can be very useful when adding new data, editing existing information, or changing the status of a record. The options available in the action column will differ depending on the record type, but they'll always display an option that the software anticipates would be your most logical next step for that record. So if you take a look at Alex Johnson here, and we click in the action column, you'll notice that it gives me the option to open the matter dashboard, add a new fee, cost, or payment, change the status of the matter to closed or inactive, or to edit the matter settings. And then one option that I find particularly useful is the Start New Timer option, which will allow you to start a new timer with this matter already assigned to it. So that makes it a little easier. When you pause the timer or end the timer, the fee will then be recorded for you. Now, if we move on to the fee list and take a look at the action column, you'll actually see that some of the options have changed, and then on some of the records, there's no longer a drop-down menu. Now, this is because a billed record only has the option to edit fee, which shows you the billed transaction details. Now, for any fees that are unbilled, you have the option then to edit the fee. You can toggle the fee between billable and non-billable, or you can even just delete the fee. Now, sometimes it's helpful to see more options for columns to best utilize the list. And so if I want to see more information about the record before using the action column, I can always use the list options button directly above the action column. So it looks like a little bulleted list here. Now, clicking that then allows me to add or remove columns from the list display. So in this case, I want to add the column for non-billable. So I'll just put a check in that box. And then you'll see that in the background here, that list is now updated to have a non-billable column. And that will continue to show then, even if I leave this list and then come back to it in the future. Now, the list option button also lets me change the number of rows that will display on the list. So I can condense my view a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the number of rows from 50 to, let's say, 25. And then you can see that, again, the list is automatically updated to show only 25 rows instead of 50. Now, hopefully these list pointers will help you to become more efficient at using lists and make it easier to find data using the quick view and list options. So now we're going to look at how you can save time during transaction entry by using text shortcuts. So text shortcuts are macros that make filling in memo and note fields easy by allowing you to type in an abbreviation that will expand into a larger word or phrase. So to add text shortcuts, you'll want to select Welcome, and then Firm Settings. And then after that, you'll click on the link for Text Shortcuts under Account and Firm Settings. So this will give you the ability to turn shortcuts on or off for each user. So we have ours on, depending on if you want to use them or not. Unlike quick views though, the text shortcuts that are entered in this screen will be accessible by all users. So that way you only have to enter the shortcuts once for everyone to have access to it. So to add a new text shortcut, you'll select the Add Text Shortcut button, and from there, you can then fill in the abbreviated text. So in this case, we'll say TC, and then the expanded text. So we'll have this one extend out saying telephone conference. And then from there, all you have to do is save and close. And then once you have that information, we'll actually see how that works, but when you type in TC, it'll actually then automatically expand it out to telephone conference. So we'll go to our dashboard here, our user dashboard, and if we use the quick launch fee button, we can actually come down to the memo field, type in TC, hit space, and as you see, it then does expand out to telephone conference. So let's see here. So from there, once we have the matter assigned and the hours, we can just simply save and close. And then you'll see that this does allow you to have basically to save time when billing. So this will conclude the demonstration part of our webinar. Next, we'll be moving on to the Q&A portion. But before we start the live Q&A session, I want to remind you that if you're unable to stick around but do have questions, you can always email your questions to support@kurent.com, or you can schedule a walkthrough of any of these features with one of our customer experience specialists by going to www.kurent.com/walkthrough. All right, Chris, Zoe.
Okay, thanks, Brandon. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop those in the questions window, and I'll be asking them to Zoe, and she'll be covering them. So it looks like we have a couple already. So we'll get started. First question, I noticed when you were on the invoice list that there is an action column, but also a perform action button. How do they work, and how are those different?
Sure. So the action column is going to be specific to the record in the list itself here. So these options in the action column are just going to change or edit the actual record that we're on here. So right here would be for Carol Danvers. With the perform action button, it's going to be more of a batch action type situation. So in this case, if I wanted to say, I'll go ahead and check these two here. Under perform action, if I chose to, email or print them, it would print any of the ones that I have checked. So it's just basically a difference between at the individual level versus a batch action. But most of the actions themselves will be relatively the same between the columns and the perform action button.
Okay, great, thank you. How can you add a message to display on all invoices?
Sure. So messages to display on all invoices, that would be at the firm level here. So I'll go ahead and go into firm settings here from welcome, then firm settings. If you're wanting it to show like an ending message on all invoices, you'd want to go into defaults and settings. You have the option to change various memo fields, so whenever you're entering a transaction, you can change those there. But also the ending invoice message, if you put something in here, it'll show on each invoice. It can be edited at the invoice level as well in case you want to change it, but this allows you to, put in something that's going to show on every invoice.
Okay, great. And it looks like a couple of you have your hands up. So again, if you have questions, pop those in the questions window, and we'll answer them during the session right now. Okay, next question. Can you only add one custom quick view per list?
Yes, as of right now, you can only add one custom quick view per list, but it's easy enough to, filter for, any of your needs as well. You can have that custom quick view as more of the option that you're going to go to on a regular basis, but you always have this filter option to, break down to whatever you need to. And that is going to be per user. So, each user that logs in can have separate quick views across the top here as well. These ones are still going to be the standard ones, but whenever you add that custom one, that'll be specific to your user.
Okay, great. Moving along, if I create a fee from a note, then delete the note, does the fee get deleted too?
No. So they are going to be, although they're linked within the note record there, if you delete the note, the fee will still remain, and vice versa. If you delete the fee, the note will remain too, which is what you would expect there. But they act as separate entities, but are just connected through that note screen.
Okay, great. If you create a fee with the Add Fee button, can you then add time to that fee with a timer?
So in this case, you can alter the time. I'm going to go ahead and open this up here. If you're wanting to add it via the timer, you'd want to start it as a timer. You do have the option, though, instead of putting in just hours, you can change this to use start and end time instead. That's probably what I would suggest if you haven't already started the timer, but you want to have it with a specific start and end time. Otherwise, if you have started it from the timer, you will have the option to go back in and alter that information here, and I can actually show you that here since we do have the timer running. I'll go ahead and pause this one. So if it started from the timer here, we'll go ahead and click into that record. You'll have the option to edit it up here or add another start and end time. So if you're wanting to track it that way, I would suggest starting it as a timer. And you can run multiple timers at the same time using this kind of stacked icon here. If you click on that, it'll show any of the active timers that are running, so you can definitely have more than one at the time.
Okay, is there a character limit to how much text can expand when using text shortcuts?
There is a limit. It's really high, though. So I think it's at 1,000 characters. So basically you could type in, something like TC and have it expand out into a full, paragraph, which would be good for, statute of limitations and things like that, to expand a lot of information with just one simple, text shortcut.
All right. How do you run a report for one client to show all fees and costs paid over several months?
Sure. So that's probably going to be the transaction report. That's going to be best. We'll go ahead and go into reports here, and then into the transaction report. This report, by default, it includes unbilled and billed time. You'd want to go into customize here at the top, and you can just choose to look at billed time or, unbilled, or both. If you're wanting to look, over the last couple of months here, you would want to look at the billed information here. And the customization has quite a few options to break down. You can look by specific clients, by responsible user, or, just fees, just expenses, or just advances here. So this one's probably going to be a good tool for you to see that information.
Okay, great. I think we're on our last question. So if anybody has any more, feel free to ask that, and we'll make sure we get it in before we end the webinar today. If I choose the option to show fewer fields for fees and costs, does that affect all users?
Nope, that's just going to affect your user. So in the case that you chose to do fewer fields, when somebody else goes in to add a cost, when they're logged in as themselves, they will have the option to choose to show more fields or not. So that is going to be specific to you, and once you save, as Brandon showed, it'll stay in that state, but only for your user.
Okay, great. Thank you, Zoe. That is all of our questions. I'm going to throw it back to Brandon now.
Thank you, Chris and Zoe. If you'd like more information about Kurent, including pricing, there is a handout in your GoToWebinar. Also, because this is a new series, we would absolutely love to get some feedback from you. So if you go through that bottom link there, which is www.kurent.com/webinar survey, we did set up, it's a short survey, so if you could at some point just take a couple of minutes, fill it out, we definitely would appreciate that. There's even a spot in the survey to include ideas for future Webinar Wednesday topics. Now I want to thank you again and remind you that our customer experience specialists are happy to work with you on any of these topics when you call, email, or schedule a personal walkthrough. I also want to let you know that we will be back next month for another Webinar Wednesday where we will be tackling trust. We'll see you there. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.